So I'd like to now ask for interventions and questions from the floor. I'd like to take several, and then, since we have so few minutes of response, then we'll direct those to the particular persons who could answer them effectively. So I see we have here in the rose-colored jacket. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairperson of the panel of the Mohammed family and colleagues. Thank you very much to all of you, because this session to me is very useful, because there are a lot of things one can do with the information that we get. But I would like to ask Mohammed Bakar, this Mohammed, Mohammed Bakar, yes, that I would want to be more clear on how a country can access the JEF funds. Okay, you brushed over it, and you actually said the partners or the funders sort of decide, but I'm still not clear of the procedure or the process of accessing the funds. Is it through any of these agencies that are on the table? Since you said we should not send the application to you, I would appreciate elaboration on that. I also wanted to appreciate Dr. Bashir's presentation. He made me feel good, because what AGRA is doing is quite similar to what our organization is doing, Sasakawa Africa Association. That means we are on the right track.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you. I'm Carlo Fadda from Bioversity International, and I thank all the panelists for the opportunity of sharing with us this great initiative, which I think is extremely important. In the interest of time, I would like just to go to the point of my intervention. I think that the IPCC latest report called for a series of pillars, including the sustainable use of plant genetic resources and the use of traditional knowledge, looking in the gene banks for material that has adaptive traits. And I think in this respect, business as usual is not enough, and this is clear from the IPCC report. In this sense, I would think that an additional element that should be there is really trying to use more the genetic diversity to foster food security. I think with Bioversity and also working in several occasions with JEF, with UNEP in implementation of JEF projects, we've been addressing some of these issues. I would also like to remind that sustainable use of plant genetic resources is one of the key elements of the JEF 6 strategy, together with land degradation, and therefore this could be a very important element for fostering sustainability and resilience for food security. We've been generating evidence that this can work. We've been increasing significantly yield, so using this genetic diversity is not just for backwards looking, but is really for fostering food security, improving yields. And that goes along with, alongside with the formal seed system, yeah, I finished, with the formal seed system, strengthening the local seed system. This is important, and it is desirable as long as there are quality control and mechanisms to make sure that those seeds are really what the farmers need. Thank you.
Great, great. Yes, Teki.
Thank you so much. I'll be very, very brief because of the time. Bashir, I'm very grateful for saying what you said. And I assure you, there are more successes that are coming. When we talk about maize, for example, Ethiopia has surpassed the 3-ton mark 2 years ago. Zambia is coming up. Malawi is coming up. Uganda is coming up. And you will be talking about these things. And the narrative about representing African agriculture is going to change, I assure you. The point based on that, the point I would like to make really is, I mean, this is just an observation. Nobody has to answer a question or anything. Drawing lessons. Why are these countries so successful, whereas the others are not? This is extremely important for us to be drawing lessons from those countries, those are successful. In this context, we have to really define what a project is all about. A project is not to work in lieu of the national programs. The project is there to show the way that it is possible to do things. That's all you can do, sir. So how do you create an enabling environment for the national programs to take the leadership and run with it? I thank you so much, sir.
Very relevant point. Let's see, how many hands do we have left here? We have, okay, right. Let's have Paramu. And we have Baba.
Dennis Mafongoya from University of KwaZulu-Natal. To Alice, you kind of skipped around land certification, this. What is UNDP doing? We know the large land acquisitions, which you can say land deals, which is taking Africa's, at the moment, estimates are like 60 million hectares have already gone. So what is, in terms of a framework, AU and other bodies facilitate government deal with really legitimate land deals rather than just people coming accessing land. Our children might not have land. And not Kenya to talk about.
Okay, and then our last two, Baba Tierto, World Vision.
Yes, thank you. My name is Baba Tierto from World Vision. My question goes to Bashir. I'd like to know more about your market access program, because I believe you're working with smallholder farmers, and usually the markets that we know are very hostile environments for those kind of farmers. What have been your experience? When you talk about market linkage, is this just showing them where the market is, or you've done something beyond that? So we'd like to learn more about your market access program. Thank you.
Great. And our last, Richard Munang from UNEP.
Thank you very much, Dennis. My question is to Bashe. In your presentation, which was eloquently presented, there was a slide on fertilizer application. My question is, how do you reconcile the application of fertilizer with other approaches like ecosystem-based approaches, in this case, agroforestry, with the changing climate and the fact that there have been studies showing that application of fertilizer could alter or disrupt soil chemical processes, vis-a-vis the other agroecological approaches? How do you see these playing out in the long run under the changing climate, and at the same time with the talk leading to the Sustainable Development Goals?
And my disclaimer, Bashir, is I didn't plant that question, okay? Okay, I think we have to stop taking questions now, and what I observe is that we had a couple of comments, no response necessary, but we did have a question to Alice, and I will have Alice take her brief remarks to that. And then to Bashir, there were a couple of questions addressed to Bashir, and then I'd like to have Mohammed wind up with the final word. Okay? So Alice, would you?
Thank you very much for that difficult question. Well, UNDP works with countries. In fact, countries are our major clients, and we support countries to put in place policies that that would enable them, that would safeguard them from things, from all kinds of things. But on the issue to do with land, the AU, the African Union, has a framework and guidelines on land policy in Africa. And so what we would like to do, and haven't done it, is basically support the African Union in making sure that those frameworks are adopted and being implemented in all these countries. Because first and foremost, I need to highlight that these are sovereign decisions. The decisions to lease land are all sovereign decisions. But we also see that there's accumulating experience in formulation of good land policies. Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, land certification, Ethiopia, Madagascar. So all of these countries have land policies. What we want to make sure to see in this is that these land policies actually do have these safeguards that while we know that there is a debate whether it's desirable, whether these land deals are desirable development, or whether they will lead to food shortage. But all we have to make sure is that the policies in place are supportive. But we cannot tell countries what to do, but we can definitely make sure that they have policies in place that are supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. Over to Bashir.
Okay.
Very brief to
Very brief.
Baba and...
I think there are a couple of good questions. One is on the market access. The number of interventions that we are carrying out, which are pretty much standard. The first one I think is about cutting down the transaction costs, getting these farmers organized into stronger groups, so that they can bulk together and negotiate better prices, so that they're not just price takers, they're much more of price setters. Training them a lot on quality issues, so that quality matters when you are talking of market access, particularly in outside of your localities. Storage facilities, so that you minimize post-harvest losses. So we're making a lot of investments with partners in developing storage facilities. The whole idea around market information, so that farmers have actually know where the markets are, and a lot more, and we can pick up bilaterally some of those interventions. I think the second question was about fertilizer, inorganic fertilizers vis-a-vis other sources of nutrients in the face of climate change. I think the point that I want to highlight is that our approach is one that integrates organic and inorganics. It's not either or. Fertilizer is essential in many of these areas because there's very little organic, manure and crop residues. And it can kickstart the productive system to generate organics, livestock, and what have you. But the other source of organic that we are promoting, which I maybe didn't emphasize, is maximize the use of biological nitrogen fixation through legumes, and getting the cowpeas, which right now are not fixing that much, but bringing in rhizobium that's appropriate, soybean, beans. So eventually, your system will be dependent much more on biological sources of nutrients. Phosphorus will be still challenging because you need a bit of phosphorus, but it is a system that will graduate much more towards that. But for now, we require something to kickstart it. Mm-hmm. And in some areas, we may even require lime application. Mm-hmm. Some of these soils that are eroded are acidic. And so lime is one thing that's forgotten, but I think for us to move it forward, let's make sure that it's about integrating whatever sources of nutrients that are on these farms and not think of either or.
Thanks, Bashir. And you gentlemen can take this up over the coffee. We have just a word from Mansour on the land issue. Very brief, 30 seconds.
Yes, thank you very much. Just in addition to what was said, I mean, first recognizing that this is really a critical issue in order to have a transformation in the agriculture and food security sector. But beyond those very good experiences that exist in the continent, there is as well, a lot of experience coming from Latin America, from many other, parts of the world that's, could be brought here. And there is, I think, what maybe as FAO we should do much more on that. With a large consensus today on the how to govern natural resources. And as you know, the Committee for Food Security, the CFS, has agreed after 2 years of negotiation about the voluntary guidelines for the governance of natural resources. And this is really so don't be misled by the word voluntary. Voluntary is everything at that level, international level, is voluntary. When it is mainstreamed in the legal systems of the countries, it becomes compulsory. Okay, so it is actually something that is there, that reflects good practice, that has a very large consensus internationally, that we can all use and adapt in the legal frameworks and the policy frameworks of the countries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Subject for a whole seminar, I'm sure. I'd like to now turn over to Mohammed to address the question that was meant for him and to wrap up for us this evening.
Thank you very much, Dennis. And before I say anything, please join me in congratulating and thanking our chair for the excellent job. I think the quick response to the question about accessing GF funds is very straightforward. Every country has a GEF operational focal point that the government has designated. That is your number one point of contact. If that person cannot help you, feel free to send me an email. That's what I can say. I think that's basically it. Thank you all very much, and please feel free to talk to any of the agencies. You have access to them in this meeting, but also outside. But basically, we'll be organizing events around this, and we'll look forward to welcoming some of you to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.